Hello, my name is Alex Walker and I am a Piki peer supporter. The question of what is peer support is a big one because it's a very unique form of support that is distinct from a more clinical mode of support such as counselling psychology or psychiatry, and it's also distinct from the informal supports you'll have in your life, your friends, your family, your pets. Peer support is somewhere in this liminal space between those two things, between clinical services and between informal supports such as friends and family. Peer support exists in an intersection between those spaces. Piki peer support utilises IPS, which stands for intentional peer support. A core theme in IPS is called mutuality. Mutuality is all about the idea of a two-way stream, of walking side by side, of having this sense of being a peer, not someone who is an expert over the person who needs support. So when I'm doing peer support, I don't think of myself as necessarily more knowledgeable or any more of an expert than the people I'm supporting. In fact, we try and encourage the idea that everyone is an expert of their own experiences and of their own journey through whatever they're going through. So I'm walking side by side with the people I support, but I'm not providing or taking up the role of an expert. So one way to illustrate this is to imagine the classic scenario of a fly on the wall. If you had a fly on the wall of a traditional counselling therapy session, the fly would very quickly identify who the counsellor was and who the person seeking support was. But if that fly was on the wall of a peer support session, it might become a bit more difficult to even figure out who is the peer supporter and who is the person being supported, because of that more peer-to-peer dynamic, and because of how wildly different peer support can look like depending on the particular relationship. So peer support can look like conversations in a cafe, it can look like walks along the waterfront, it can look like games of chess in the library, it can look like going for a drive, it can look like all of those things, because peer support is designed to be tailored towards the person who needs support. It's designed to be flexible and honouring the needs of the person who needs support, in addition to the person who is doing the supporting. As an example, a year ago I was peer supporting someone with social anxiety, and that was an experience that I could relate to myself, as I also have had experiences with social anxiety. And so both myself and the person I was supporting, we decided to use this app called Meetups, and would both go to these social meetups that were happening around Wellington. These are meetups that were just about having conversations or playing games and getting to know people. And we joined those groups and went together as a kind of way of, exposing ourselves to more social situations. And that's the kind of fascinating and interesting thing you can do with peer support that you can't necessarily do in a more traditional therapy context. You wouldn't necessarily have a counsellor join you as you go to a board games night in Wellington, but that's something that absolutely can happen in peer support. I also think peer support is extremely important just because of the way it can battle stigma. As we all know, people going through mental health struggles are often facing a great deal of stigma from the outside world, but also from within themselves. To be able to have a conversation with someone who is not a counsellor, but rather someone that they can relate to on a peer-to-peer level, to have that conversation and to hear their peer supporter talk about their own experiences in such an open and honest way, that can be extremely powerful. Disclosure of shared experiences can go a long way to battling stigma, because the person who is seeking support can kind of see that, oh, this person that is supporting me has had a similar experience. And I don't feel like I'm judging them for that. So maybe I shouldn't judge myself for the same thing. And that's also just a quick little thing to throw in. Another beautiful thing about peer support is that the support can go both ways. So even though when I'm peer supporting, I'm generally taking the role of someone who is facilitating the support, there has been many times where the person I'm supporting has supported me when I'm going through a tough time, or when I've gone through a tricky situation or an awkward situation. I've been able to talk it through with the people that I'm peer supporting, and then in those moments they become the peer supporter. And it's that shared connection, that shared mutuality that is the real key here, because it allows someone to feel like they're being treated as a full human, because they're being honoured not only because of the experiences they've gone through, but also they're being honoured by being trusted to give support back. And I think that's really, really cool. So that's peer support, and I hope that was a useful little explainer of what peer support is. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.